Good evening, my guys and dolls, cats and kittens. I hope all of my true cruise aficionados are doing well out there today. I have a case for you today. I don't know. I heard about it, I kind of followed it, but I never followed the aftermath, which in this case might be the most interesting thing about this case. I don't want to minimize at all what happened to the victim because it seems in this scenario here and the way things worked out that the victim was definitely pushed aside, as many times do when you get a crazy as a bun in the oven person who becomes the perpetrator. And that is definitely what happened in this instance. And I remember watching on TV, the news interview where, it is revealed to this perpetrator for the first time that the body had been found. And it took him a minute or two to regain his consciousness. I mean, it was a matter of seconds in front of the camera. And then, at this point, I do believe with the body language people that he began to pretend that he had to walk away to get himself composed, which he probably needed that too at that point in time, no doubt. Good evening, my true clues aficionados. I hope you're all are doing well out there, taking care of each other, looking out for each other. If you're seeing something, saying something, and keeping yourself hydrated while we're just talking about it. Today's case I want to talk to you about is quite going down the rabbit hole. I'm going to have to refer to my notes here as I often do because my brain doesn't hold all of that crazy information I want to tell you. Anyway, first of all, I want to start off by saying that the victim is the first person in all of this, the victim and the victim's family. And in this case, it seems like the victim was shoved to the side because of the maniacal craziness of the perpetrator in this case. And it was, yeah, like crazy like Ted Bundy, crazy like Fox with this guy. And his name was Stephen McDaniel. And I want to talk about Lauren Giddings. And it was about in 2011, I believe, that this crime was perpetrated. There was a thing called mutophilia involved in this, which is an attraction on a visceral and physical basis to this type of scenario where you perpetrate a victim, you do as you want to with this victim, and then you eradicate him off the face of the earth, and then you just like it insinuates, mutilate their body, maybe like Kentucky Fried Chicken. And in this instance, Stephen thought it would be a good idea to do dismemberment and then package it up in plastic, lots of plastic, and then throw them away in trash cans in various areas, thinking, oh my God, this has worked before. They just throw, yeah, we're just going to use a mafia tactic. We're going to get rid of this body, and then nobody's ever going to know that I was involved in perpetrating a crime. Okay, so let's go back. You're young, you're smart, and you're just living it up, just living it up, just, living your best life at this point in time. And you have a good friend group, you got a man that you're seeing, you also have a little side piece on the side there. And ain't nobody passing no judgment on nobody because we know throughout time and throughout the history of time, relationships and side pieces have always happened. I, for one, have not engaged in that activity and would be brokenhearted and would leave my relationship, which I did, if that's what happens. This girl was not married. There was no promises there. I'm sure she was being wide open with everybody because as a law student, there's a certain tactical way they approach things, I imagine. I'm sure it's not true with all of them, but probably the majority of them. Beautiful young lady, cute little dog, that was her everything, Butterbean. And so she lived off campus or by campus in this one little apartment place that a lady who loved law, was involved in law somehow, bought this building to rejuvenate it, to provide college students a place to go and live while they were doing their college thing at school. So therefore, all these people are, law students living in this area here. They had just graduated from school. Now everybody needed to get prepared for the bar, which tests scare me. So I could never, oh my gosh. I freeze up so like crazy person when I have to be taking some tests. Not that I can't do it, but it is scary. And so everybody's in the building, they're all studying, and Lauren was doing her best life. She had a boyfriend who was 20 years or so older than her. And her being a law student, I completely understand that, the cerebral thing that women need because they're usually older than men. And usually in your life, you kind of have a relationship like that. I know I make an ugly face, but when I was growing up, it was normal for us to want to be with an older gentleman about 10 years or so older than you. Now it's looked at as creepy. It was considered normal back then. Times change. I ain't judging. But anyway, she involved in this relationship, and then her ex-boyfriend, around the time of the expiration, had also said that he had been with her and they had a little liaison. So good for her. Anyway, so she had been living in this apartment complex for a minute or two. And this Steve guy looked like a creeper, I have to say right out the door. It was never a man that I would say yes to go on a date with. I would just be trying to get out as politically correctly as possible and just say no. Thank goodness she was seeing somebody else or your regular go-to. In that case, I would have just said, look, I'm engaged, and I would have bought me something too. Anyway, back to the thing. So he lived next door to each other. They were on the second floor, I believe, of this little place, about one door apart from each other. So I'm sure he had stalker tendencies and definitely stalker instincts towards her. He had asked her to go out with them. She said, no, I got a man, can't do that. So he continued to stalk her anyway. There's footage of him where he put a camera on something, a broomstick or something like that, and he was underneath her window recording her shit, what she was doing in her most private moments. Okay. So anyway, he probably continued to do this all along, and then God only knows what kind of fantasies he was conducting himself with when he was in the house. Because when they looked at his computer, there was a lot of illegal, illicit stuff out there involving young ones as well as adults. And when you got to have that much, there's something, going on in there. He said it was because he had never engaged in any kind of physical interaction with anybody. He was still pure as the driven snow as far as sexual activity goes. And so, I guess he had this proclivities in place of that were keeping him down and keeping him going. So Lauren was getting ready, because the bars were coming up. She had to move out of this apartment. Somebody else was moving in, and his time to be stalking her was definitely coming to an end. And I think that put him into a panic, and it escalated things, which I think would have been eventually he would have attempted this because, like I said, he's kind of like Ted Bundy. So I guess in order to earn extra money, because he was just totally surviving on his student loans for money and how he spent things. So he was doing maintenance in the apartment as well, complex. So he had a key to Lauren's apartment. This wasn't found out until after she was expired, but he also had a master key to be able to get in and out of other people's places. Somebody had seen him acting in an untoward manner, saying that he was wearing female underwear like a mask. You know how some people were wearing it during the pandemic, but this was going the other way. And then he put like Batman eye holes in it, and I guess would walk around or scare people like that. So Lauren was like at her last night there in the apartment where she was getting ready to go off and start her bestest life, which I believe would have happened, and I think her family does too. He decides he's going to make entrance into her apartment, click, click in. He comes in wearing whatever ridiculous outfit he concocted, and she wakes up and she's like, "Hey, who is it? Get out of my apartment, get the fuck out." And of course, he doesn't. He jumps on the bed, proceeds to her. And I guess this went on for 50 minutes. This is according to what he said, because he worked out some kind of plea deal, where you're supposed to tell the truth again. I don't understand it. I'm never going to understand it, but they probably get more information than they would have before. But there's probably so much more that goes on that whole mental diagnosis that goes along with that, and whatever he was looking at on the internet there definitely confirms that he had some unhealthy, twisted, you are sick and belong in jail kind of mental proclivities. So then, they're interviewing him on the TV, because much as these type of people do, they want to be in there, in on the action, find out what's going on, what clues are coming down, how close they are to being caught. So he's there, and he talking to the friends. The friends are like, "Have you seen Lauren?" "No, I haven't, but I want to go out with you and look for her." Like he didn't already know what happened. He just hoping the trash man comes, take all his shit away, so he don't have nothing to worry about. So he's out there, and then he's talking to the news like, "Oh, I know everything about Lauren. I know when she took classes. I know that she went running. I seen her running in the afternoon. Yeah, yeah, yada, 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 yada." Oh, but when it comes down to the police interview, it was like watching a little wooden stick figure. I don't know if he was frozen in fear, or if this was his CSI concoction of how to surpass a homicide interview. And he just sit there, he just like, "I don't know. I don't know. Yes, no, I don't know. I don't know." And you can tell that the two interviewing law enforcement people were just so freaking frustrated with his little ass. But no, he continues to do that for a long time. I don't even know when he actually comes out and finally testify, cops to the fact that he actually did it. I guess in the plea deal. He cops to the fact that he did it, then he wants to make some kind of plea deal, and then he just think he's gonna get away later, but he's gonna be spending the rest of his life in jail. So the telling thing about the whole thing, especially if you watch body language, facial expressions, energy, a matter of fact, and I'm glad the guy that in the body language videos pointed that out again, because I remember looking at that on the video when I watched it the first time. It is like he said, if you believe in energy, which I most certainly do. I believe in energy. I believe in angels. I wouldn't do this kind of work if I didn't. But anyway, so he's out there and he's blabbing it up and giving her all the information. But when it comes into the police interview, he don't know shit from Shinola, quite honestly. Such a damn liar. So when you can see the facial expressions on when he finds out that they have found a body, because I'm sure he was counting on the fact that the trash men would take it away. Everybody knows that even if they took it away, they would have went right back to where that trash was dumped and looked for that body parts then. But anyway, so right when they say it, and you see this look of shock briefly on his face before he can conduct himself again and act like he's carrying on, because he's just so hurt and upset over what happened. There was a lady with her dog in the car behind him while the interview's going on. She's on the phone, yada, yada, yada. Dog's running around. All of a sudden, when his energy changes, you can see the dog, like not immediately, but like a second or so later, pick up on it and then just crawl underneath the car. You tell me, I don't know. So anyway, he goes through and he finally admits that his family stands by him. I guess he had 4 adopted daughters. The son-in-law said he was really weird. And he comes back later trying to act like he knows what he's doing. He wants a new trial. Of course, he's turned down for it because everybody knows what kind of craziness went down with him. And there's a particular type of person that feels the need to attack somebody in an essay way kind of way, in a physical kind of way, to mentally stalk them for however many years that he was there, talk about her to his family members. And then take the stage like, yeah. So I don't know. I think that this can happen, male or female. The fact is, I don't know if you would have called him an incel or whatever he would have been called. If there's any labels that would have fit this particular individual, I don't know. Okay. Okay. And so Lauren and her bright light was snuffed out and wasn't able to shine and help the people like she so desired, because in a law career, obviously, that's what you're trying to do, is help people. And I don't know what this crazy man was up to in any way, shape, fashion, or form. He looked like he was a lot more animated and tried to be friendly, but he wasn't the type of guy that girls were attracted to, or maybe the type of scope of girl he was looking for would have been attracted to. Because he honestly, I'm telling you guys, looked like a creeper. You got the pictures, because I make that little photo montage so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. But anyway, I love you all. Look for my next episode. Talk to you soon. Take care.